To the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Value Realtor Growth listeners, today I have Matt Schlegel. He is the owner of Schlegel Consulting. Okay, you focus on teamwork, team building, kind of expanding a team. Is that kind of a right assessment of you, Matt?
That's right on. And great to be here with you today, Vinny.
Oh, I appreciate that. No, and so a question to get everything going, I'd love to start off with is, if you were in an elevator, how would you describe what you do and what your team does?
What I do is I help teams work together more effectively than they ever imagined that they could.
And that has to be probably more daunting, I would guess, with everything going on, COVID, virtually these days.
It is, although we've virtualized everything so that we can work with teams virtually, and I've had success doing that. People respond well to the virtual environment when I'm doing team building workshops. So it really hasn't slowed us down much at all.
All right, now I'm going to jump into another question. This is more specifically for coaches, consultants, and that kind of ballpark, right? Because I've had more and more of those on this podcast. How do you and your company differentiate from other coaches, consultants out there?
Right. Well, so my specific practice uses a tool. It's based on a tool called the Enneagram. Are you familiar with that tool?
No.
Yeah, it's so the Enneagram is commonly known and used as a personality system, and it's a fabulous tool for really getting to know yourself, raising your own self-awareness, and then also understanding the dynamics of your teammates, and then the interpersonal dynamics that occur based on the interactions between the different types or styles. And so that's a part of my practice, is using this tool to help teams really understand their teammates better. And another part of the practice is using the Enneagram in a different way. And this is the theme of my book, Teamwork 9.0, is that different from other systems, when you think of a system like there's many of them out there, DISC or Myers-Briggs, they often use letters or something to characterize the different types, and that the Enneagram uses numbers. And this got me thinking, why is it labeled, the types labeled as numbers? And it occurred to me that the reason why there are numbers is because it describes an order. So it's actually describing a process, and it's the process by which humans solve problems. So the Enneagram is also a 9-step problem-solving process. So now you have this one system that describes, the order in which humans solve problems, and a associated human dynamic with each one of those steps in problem solving. And once you can tie those all together, you're like, wow, this is remarkable in a way to get teams to move through these steps of problem solving and solve big challenging problems that might otherwise appear daunting.
In building this company, was this structure kind of putting together from the start, or where did this this come from? Were you always into helping teams grow, or what was the original idea of the company?
Right, right. So, my background actually is engineering, and so as I was moving through my career, at one point, my manager said, "Hey, I want you to become a team leader." And I said, I don't know anything about leading teams. I only know about leading electrons." And my manager said, "Don't worry, you'll be fine." But I wasn't fine. I was worried. And so I started just studying, all these different tools for leadership, and testing them out, and that's kind of my engineering brain. I learn a new tool, then I test it out and see what works and what doesn't work. And as I was on this journey, I came across this system called the Enneagram. And so, like any other tool, I just started to use it with my team. And I found that it was just so remarkably accurate at helping all of us understand the dynamics that we were having in the team, that I continued to just use it more and more. And then when I asked that question about why are they numbers, I discovered that problem solving aspect of it. And I started to, use it as a problem solving process with my team, and discovered that it worked remarkably well in that, that part of it too. And so after that experience, I decided to go into consulting and build a consulting practice around using these tools that I had developed to help teams solve problems. And so that's kind of the genesis of it. And that was I started the consulting in 2007. So it's going on 15 years now.
When you had the idea that, you know what, I came onto something good right here. I have this idea. I can really help other people out, not just the company I'm working for. How long was the transition from working at a company to actually quitting the job and going on your own?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when when you're in kind of the corporate world and you're chugging along, and you kind of just think, okay, well, I'm going to just continue on that trajectory. But it happened in 2007, right as we
Oh,
were
wow.
going into the recession. And so the jobs that I was finding, it turned out that I would have to commute. Like, I was finding, jobs far away from where I lived. And I wasn't really eager to do that. And I'd always had it in the back of my mind that I probably never would stop working. I just like doing the work. So I would probably end up going into consulting at some point in my career.
Mm.
And then it just occurred to me, well, why don't I just do that now and try it out and see if I like it? And and it was a big hurdle for me to make that leap, and it was somewhat of a leap of faith that I'd be able to you know start a new business and get it going, with the runway that I had, financially. But as it turned out, I was able to get very good gigs doing it, and was able to make it work out.
What was the appeal of consulting?
Well, you know the big appeal of consulting is to just be in more control over your life. That was one of the things that was going to challenge me. And my son at that point, he was around 6 years old, and I really wanted to be able to spend more time with him, be able to go to his, baseball games or soccer games, or maybe help out in class. And so going into consulting gave me more flexibility with my schedule so that I could, you know, just be more present with him and be able to participate in some of these activities, around his life that I wasn't able to with his older sisters because I was working and traveling all the time.
I bet you hear that a lot still, huh? You were there for my brother, not for me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They've moved on, and they're fine. And I've got one of my daughters here now visiting, so we're having a great time. So yeah, it's I don't hear that, thankfully, but
What now in building the brand? I mean, when you're working for a company compared to kind of building your own thing, there's some things that you probably didn't have to think about when you were working for a company that you had to think about now as kind of building your own consulting company. I mean, what were some of those things that maybe you kind of wish you knew more about, or wish, oh my gosh, I wish I could have someone else do this for me? Was it like finding business? Was it systems? I mean, what was that thing for you?
right, right. Well, so now here's one of the things about the work I do is that I get people to know what their strengths are, and then you work on what you're really good at, and then partner with people who can bring other skill sets in, so that you're not stretching yourself to do things that you may not be as good at. And so I'm kind of eating my own dog food as I'm starting the company, because I'm thinking, well, what am I good at? What are the things that I love to do? What are the things when I wake up in the morning I'm excited to do? And and I know, to start a business, you've got this whole pie of stuff that you that you need to take care of, and you're good at this one slice of pie. So I've just started to you know find partners that would help me do the things that I'm not as good at, or I'm not competent in, and together then we can make the whole pie and make it work. So I got help with the financial side. I got help with marketing. I love to do sales, but I'm not as good at creating all the messaging and the branding and all that. So I partnered with people who were excellent at that, and they supported me and helped me, and together we were able to build something.
When you say partnering up, was it giving a piece of your business, or was it paying for the services? I mean, what was that? What did that mean to you?
Right. So there's a number, so I would say there's probably 12 people in the orbit of my company,
Mm,
even though the actual employees of the company, there's only two, my wife and I.
mm,
Um, the you know so some of the folks, I just pay for their services outright. Other of the folks, we have revenue sharing, so if they're on the revenue side of the business, then we will share the whatever revenue we're getting,
mm.
so that when we're delivering for our customers, then we share in that. So it's and we've arranged how we will split the revenue based on what comes in, so that it's all very equitable and above board, and it works out really well that way.
Did you understand that structure or have that structure in place when you started, or was this something that you kind of had to learn over time?
It grew organically, and I tried many different formulations of, how to partner with people. And, so, it's, nothing set in stone. It could evolve from here as well. So I wouldn't say I had it in mind in the beginning. I just, started and experimented with different things and found ones that, everybody liked, and it worked for everybody.
Well, they had to be somewhat stressful in kind of starting the brand. Did you break down, and you seem very, talking as an engineer, having very number oriented. So
Yeah.
did you have that number in mind of going, okay, I have enough money to support me for this amount of months or this amount of years when you started?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had modeled, what, I think this is helpful for any business, to have clear objectives, and to, and clear goals, so that as I was building the business, I knew whether I was on track or not. So yes, I knew what I needed to accomplish. I knew the revenue that I needed to generate, and then I tracked all of that very closely. But it also said, okay, well, if I need this revenue, I need this many clients. I need to, you figure out your pipeline, you figure out how to get new clients, you figure out how much revenue would come from, certain clients. You get a different mix of clients, so you're not putting, all your eggs in one basket, so you build a diverse client base. So all of those, I took into consideration as I was growing the business.
Was there a moment when kind of building that business where you thought about, maybe I need to go find another job and have that steady stream of income?
You know, always in the back of my mind, that's kind of the plan B, right? It's like, if it doesn't work out, I could go get another job. So that I felt like that was my safety net. And I know, and I network with a lot of different consultants, and I see them, come into consulting, leave consulting, because they're not, making their objectives of revenue growth. And so, I was very familiar with that pattern, and thankfully, and I just, attribute it to dumb luck, right? Because I mean, you could have the best business plan in the world, and it still might not work out if things don't line up. Um, it just happened to, for me, I happened to, get a few really good clients early on that really helped me get over the hump to a point where I was able to build a nice, sustainable business.
What do you think you did differently? And maybe it is just dumb luck, did differently than the other consultants that had to go back to corporate world?
Um, well, I don't know, and I would, put a lot of it in dumb luck,
Okay.
because I know so many, smart people who work really hard, and it still, may not work out for whatever reason. I would say, on top of just the luck, though, is, I did land on a model that is, allows me to meet my revenue goals. And then I would say the number one adjective I would use to describe myself is persistent. And so I'm very persistent, and I just will keep chugging away, until, if I make it work or it breaks.
What there's always a time, I think, for any entrepreneur that's like, okay, this is like some of the struggles I've kind of had to work through.
Yeah.
For you, is there something that you've looked at, like, in building this, that's like that's kind of been more of the difficult thing, or the thing you really had, the hurdle you had to kind of work through?
I think that again, some of the more difficult things for me are the, coming up with, how it's really around marketing, and building a presence that resonates with people and is attractive. And my brain just, I don't think it works that way. And so, I'm just very grateful for the fact that I've been able to find people who are really good at that and can, help me, craft, very, compelling marketing messaging that, I can use to in my sales efforts, that, that seems to work really well. So that's what, that would have been the biggest hurdle for me, and was daunting, is like, how do I build all that stuff? And so, and so having that help was a great relief for me, I'd say.
Well, so it sounds like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you've had to kind of work through has really come, and you go, okay, well, I have an issue here. I'm not the greatest at this. I'm going to find someone that can do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that process like for people listening right now of going, oh, wait, there's probably things that I'm not great at, and I'm trying to find who can be that puzzle piece in my puzzle. I mean, what's your process like of finding the right person for that piece?
Right, right. And, so, uh, first and foremost is, ask yourself, do I understand all the aspects of the business that I'm trying to start? You know, do I understand the financial side? Do I understand the marketing side? Do I understand the sales side? So I did spend a lot of time just understanding, all of the different aspects of the business that would need to be working in concert for me to be successful. So once you, kind of break all of that out, and understand that, then you can look at it objectively and say, okay, well, what do I love to do? And what pieces of this am I going to play in and contribute fully? And then start to look at those other pieces and say, okay, who can I enlist to help me on these other pieces of the business and advise me? So if it's, I'm, like I mentioned, I'm an engineer, so I'm good with numbers. So I was able to do the numerical side of the business. But if you're not, really comfortable with the financial side, there are really great people out there who can help you walk through your business from a financial point of view and make sure that it is sound, and then they can put in place the financial goals and metrics that you'll need to make sure that you stay on track. And that's just one example. You can say that in everything, for sales, you can say that for marketing, you can say it for all of that.
Well, how do you vet those people? Because I mean, especially with social media these days, I mean, there's a lot of people that put information out there, and maybe it might be bending the truth of who they are, what they do. I mean, so is it word of mouth? Is it questions? Is it, I mean, what are you doing to vet these people you're putting in place and hiring?
That's okay. That's a great question. And one of the things that I did very early, like right away, was I joined networking groups.
Mm.
And in my networking groups, there were, other, professionals who were also consultants. So
Mm.
financial consultants, accountants, bankers, lawyers, every aspect. And, the group that I started with isn't the group that I'm in now, but even to this day, I'm still in one of those groups. The one I'm in now is called Provisors, and it's a nationwide network of vetted professional consultants. And so so I'm very lucky that, and just the level of professionalism in that group, I know I can pretty much go to any single person in that group because Provisors has already vetted them and get great help. So that's been a great resource for me. So I would encourage anybody who's starting a business to find a network of people that you can ask for advice, share information. And there are many wonderful groups out there that, depending on the business that you're in, that you can join and network with other people in your business and get great advice.
If let's say we were talking in 5 years from now, Matt, where do you see yourself and where do you see your company going?
Oh, that is such a great question because like if you asked me that 2 years ago, I would have told you something completely different from where I am now. So, so the short answer is I don't know, but where I'm definitely planning on continuing to adapt to our changing world. Every day now is a new challenge. I feel so grateful that I was able to virtualize much of the work that I do, and then maintain it through this pandemic. How long is the pandemic going to last? I don't know. How long will we continue to stay on Zoom? I'm starting to think that this might be something that we will continue to do just because it's a very time effective way to do business, without having to jump in a car and spend the time, commuting or traveling. I'm able to do a lot more work in a shorter amount of time because I'm simply not traveling as much. So, I'm hoping that I will be able to continue to, conduct a business in a way that doesn't require me to travel.
Makes sense. I mean, I'll give one last question here. I mean, if you could give advice to that young engineer, yourself back in the day, is there any advice before you got into consulting that you'd give yourself?
Well, this is advice that I would give to anyone, and that is learn the Enneagram. It's transformative, and it taught me more about myself than any tool that I had ever discovered. So, and it's been invaluable to me on this entire journey. Not only did it, form the basis for the tools that I build and use in my business, and the ideas that I was able to uncover and share in my book, but it also just gave me a very deep understanding of what what I love to do and what I shouldn't be doing, which has helped me in both my business, my personal life, my relationship with my kids, all of that. So I think, and I'll ask people, who are the best leaders that you have ever worked for, and it's very often that the answer will be related to I found a leader who is highly self-aware, and they were able to connect with me and help me in a way that less self-aware leaders were able to. And don't we all want to be, highly effective leaders in whatever aspect of our life? And the Enneagram is a tool for helping you get there and get going on that journey.
Well, thank you, Matt, for being on the Road to Growth podcast and telling your journey of kind of what you learned and what you picked up. It's interesting how that one nugget of information, like for yourself, changed the way you looked at things, pushed you into consulting even earlier than you thought.
Yeah.
If someone's listening right now and they want to hear more about what you have, what you're offering, how they can help their team grow, what's the best place for them to connect with you or your team?
Oh yeah, thank you so much for asking that. I am available, on LinkedIn. You can go to my website at evolutionaryteams.com and contact me there. I have a blog. I blog regularly, so you can follow what I'm doing there. And I would just love to connect with anybody who's interested in learning more about how to get teams to work together effectively. It's a passion of mine, and I love sharing ideas in that space.
Well, again, I appreciate you being here, Matt. Everyone listening, please subscribe, please share, and go find Matt. Bye, guys.